Will the famous Beale treasure ever be found? Was the whole thing just a hoax? Was it stolen by those pesky mole people? Stick around and you might just find out the answers to these questions on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Solved! Welcome, Mystery Solvers, to the only podcast that boasts a host who went to prom duct taped in the trunk of his date's car. That is true.
What?
That is 100% true.
Is it actually?
Yes.
That must have been a wild night.
It was my senior year. I won tickets, and this girl named Katie was like, hey, do you have a date to prom yet? And I was like, no. And she was like, do you want to take me? And I was like, are you asking me because you know I have a ticket and you don't want to buy one? And she was like, pretty much. And I was like, let's do it.
I mean, that's one way to get a date. That's very Machiavellian on her part.
The thing we came up with was, like, she literally duct taped my hands and feet, and I was in her trunk when she pulled up, and there was a sign in her passenger side window that said, I finally found a date for prom. And then she gets out and goes to the trunk, and everybody's like, what the f*** is going on?
That's hilarious.
Anyway, it is another glorious, mysterious Saturday, and you know what that means.
Yes, we do.
It means we're going to solve a new mystery,
Heck
and
yeah.
Maybe we'll find ourselves along the way. I am your humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries, Dr. Chad Kimmons. With me, as always, is my co-host, colleague, and purveyor of plush toys based on everything you never wanted, Dr. Cassandra Cherry. Cass, how are you now?
I mean, I'm frankly insulted that you say you wouldn't want, like, a rabbit with anglerfish teeth. That's just, like, the most adorable thing on this planet, honestly. And, like, have you never seen the Holy Grail, Monty Python's The Holy Grail? Those things are the rage. Come on.
Those things are, like, kill people. So.
Yes, but they're adorable when they do it.
I would like to disagree with that. But, do you know anything about this mystery cast, the Beale Ciphers?
Not at all. I know nothing. All I can think of is Beale is like Beelzebub, which is Lord of the Flies, and I think, Zebub is fly, so Beale is Lord, so it's a Lord cipher, a cipher of the Lords. Does it have anything to do with the Masons?
Oddly enough, it is kind of, sort of, not really. Like, one of the people that we're going to talk about went on to become a Grand Mason, but...
Interesting.
It's not part of the mystery. It's just something that happened to him. Anyway, I guess let's just go ahead and dive right on into today's mystery. So, in 1818, there was a band of 30 Virginians.
There was a man of 30 Virginians?
A band.
Oh, a band. I was like, how many Virginians are in this one man? Was he like a construct?
In the 1818, there was a group of 30 Virginians. They went on a hunting expedition in the Great Western Plains north of New Mexico.
Okay.
At this time, I believe it was a Spanish or Mexican territory. I think it was Spanish.
Okay.
It was a Spanish territory at the time. But it's kind of like they were kind of up near where Colorado would be. And they discovered gold and silver somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. Like, they discovered a mine with gold and silver.
That's pretty neat.
Which is weird. It might have been... That's just what what my research said. It had to have been more than one mine, because I don't think you typically find two precious metals in the same mine.
Yeah, because they require different conditions to form. Like...
Yeah, so, I mean, it might have just been like a series of mines.
Yeah.
And they found gold, because they also found jewels.
Ooh.
So
Man, they struck rich there, dang.
They did, and that's part of this mystery. Anyway, they found these mines, and
bastards.
This expedition was led by a charming but mysterious adventurer named Thomas J. Beale.
Okay.
After whom these ciphers are named. Well, after discovering the mine, they worked it for 18 months, and then sent Beale back to Virginia to bury it for safekeeping. Because remember, they were still on a hunting expedition. They were hunting buffalo and grizzly bears.
Right.
But they were like, we can't pass this up. So they stopped to mine all these precious metals.
Oh yeah, as you do. You don't want to leave that alone for the next guy to come along.
It took Beale several trips back and forth between Virginia and what is now Colorado to get everything squared away.
Yeah.
Now, restless to get back to the plains to, hunt buffalo and encounter savage grizzlies.
Yeah, because that's what they were there to do. They weren't there to mine. They were there to hunt.
Or hunting.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Hunting? What are you hunting? Grizzly bears? I'm sorry, what?
What the f*** are those?
Grizzly bears and barfaloo.
Excuse me, sir. Did you eat the wrong mushrooms?
I don't think we have those here, sir. This is Colorado. Anyway, Restless to get back, and it's not that funny, Cass.
Sorry. Either you get an explosion of laughter, or you get it drawn out over a period of like a minute.
I've noticed that. So let's try this again. You good? No? Okay.
Okay, I'm calming down.
Take a sip of your Yogi brand tea. I myself am drinking stress relief because my Breathe Deep is out and I haven't gone to the store. Lavender and honey stress relief it is. What did I say this time? This episode's gonna be like 30 minutes of you giggling at nothing and 10 minutes of me talking about the mystery.
I'm sorry. You doing a commercial while I'm giggling in the bathroom in the background is a funny concept.
I heard while I'm giggling in the bathroom.
I didn't mean to say that.
What are you doing in there? Nothing.
Oh, jeez.
That doesn't sound like peeing. Oh my god, so once I had this dream.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was so weird and so short.
Yeah.
But I was peeing in a urinal and like I just kept hearing Alan Rickman as Snape, like chuckling out in the hallway.
Really?
Yeah, and I would just hear him be like, because I guess that's how my brain imagines Snape would chuckle.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be like, go away, Alan, I'm trying to pee. It was so f***ing weird.
Yeah. What kind of enjoyment was Alan Rickman getting out of you peeing?
He wasn't even watching me. He was just out in the hallway, like around the corner.
Oh, that's so odd.
Okay. Are we good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
As I was saying, Beale was wanting to get back to hunting.
Yeah. Those grizzly bears.
Yes. I'm not going to say the other one. And he was unwilling to let his fortune fall into the wrong hands. God damn it, Cass. It's not the fact that you're laughing, it's that you keep, like, it keeps creeping up on you. And so then I start laughing, and I can't get through it.
Sorry. I was trying so hard to hold it back. Okay.
I'm just gonna push through this time.
Please just push through it. I'm not gonna get any better.
So Beale was ready, it was, like, wanting to get back to hunting, and he didn't want the fortune to fall into wrong hands, which would be anybody's but his.
Yes, naturally.
So he created 3 ciphers, just in case he didn't make it back.
Okay.
Now, the first cipher contained the location of the treasure. The second cipher contained the contents of this supposed treasure, which was described as basically being about 3 tons of gold, silver, and jewels, which today would be valued somewhere between 45 and 65 million USD.
Holy shit. I want to go get that treasure, damn.
Well, it may not exist.
That's fair, that's fair. Or it may have been found already. Or it may have been buried by like a landslide or something. You never know.
Maybe. And then the third cipher contained a list of the men that were on the expeditions, or the expedition, and all of their relatives. So basically this was, here's where it's at, here's what it is, here's the people that it's supposed to go to.
Yeah.
Now, he put the cipher texts into an iron box, and he gave the box to an innkeeper in Lynchburg at the Washington Hotel named Robert Morris. He gave this to him in 1822.
Okay.
He told Morris not to open the box unless he or at least one of the other men on the expedition failed to come home after 10 years.
Okay.
Or within 10 years.
Okay.
Then he left.
Okay.
A few months later, he sent Morris a letter from St. Louis, and in the letter, he said that a friend of his in St. Louis would mail the key to the ciphers, but the key never arrived. We don't know why. Could have been...
Death of the messenger.
Maybe. Could have just been that it wasn't real. I don't know. By the way we know, because only one of the ciphers has been decoded, the way we know what they contain is that there was a letter with the ciphers, a plain text letter, that said these are what the ciphers contain, but,
Yeah.
he didn't want anybody to know. Anyway, so Beale went back to the Western Plains, and he was never seen or heard from again.
Because he was murdered by a grizzly bear.
Or maybe a barfaloo. Now, it wasn't until 1845, 23 years later, that Morris finally opened the box. And in it, he found 2 plain texts, basically the letters explaining what's going on with the ciphers.
Okay.
From Beale, and several pages of the cipher text separated into 3 individual ciphers, and Morris tried to solve them, but he had 0 luck with this.
Yeah.
Because he just wasn't smart enough, I guess.
Bless his heart.
And decades later, he left the box and everything in it to an unidentified friend of his. Now, we're moving very quickly because there's not, a whole lot of information about this. Most of it, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Now, this friend was able to decode the second of the cipher texts, which we'll get into a little bit more in detail here in a bit. The one he was able to decipher was the one that contained the contents of the treasure. But he was not able to decode the other 2, and in 1885, with no options left, he made the letters and the cipher text public in a pamphlet called the Beale Papers. These were published by yet another friend, James B. Ward.
So they basically gave up on Lord Beale ever coming back and being like, hey, I want these papers back. And they're just like, I don't know. There's treasure out there in them hills. We got to get it sometime or somehow. Here, everyone, we're going to crowdsource this.
Well, remember, he was given a time frame of 10 years. He waited 23.
Okay, so he was a good gent. He was a good gent. He waited half his life.
And then it was another 40 years? Yeah, another 40 years before they published it. So, I mean, at this point, especially back then, Beale's dead.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Even if he died of old age, he's dead.
He's gonzo.
Because that'd put him well into his 80s at least.
Yeah, in no fit condition to go back and get the treasure, even if he was still alive.
Right. But the one that was decoded by the unnamed friend is, it's actually kind of funny, because he used a modified copy of the United States Declaration of Independence.
Uh-huh.
And apparently he had to edit it a little bit. There were edits that needed to be made to the Declaration of Independence, which is f***ing weird in and of itself.
I mean,
you would have to, he was having to add letters here and there and shit to get it decoded. But it just doesn't that remind you of anything?
Yeah, I mean, there might be a movie or 2 based off of that concept.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get Nicolas Cage in here to figure this shit out. What did you do to the Declaration of Independence?
But I will say this, they didn't steal it, he just used a copy.
Okay.
So, you didn't have to go steal it to look at the map on the back and then run all over God's creation, solving the most inane clues I've ever seen. But once the cipher was decoded, it read as follows. And this is the entire thing I have deposited in the county of Bedford, about 4 miles from Beaufort's, in an excavation or vault 6 feet below the surface of the ground, the following articles belonging jointly to the parties whose names are given in number 3 herewith. The first deposit consisted of 1,014 pounds of gold and 3,812 pounds of silver, deposited November 1819. The second was made December 1821 and consisted of 1,907 pounds of gold and 1,288 of silver, also jewels, obtained in St. Louis in exchange to save transportation and valued at $13,000. This was $13,000 in
back then money.
Yes.
Before inflation.
In the before times money. The above is securely packed in iron pots with iron covers. The vault is roughly lined with stone, and the vessels rest on solid stone and are covered with others. Paper number 1 describes the exact locality of the vault so that no difficulty will be had in finding it.
Okay.
Thoughts on what's going on so far? Because, I mean, that's the basic... Like, after this, we don't have a whole lot left.
Mm-hmm.
And after this, we're getting into...
Theorizing?
More about why it's probably a hoax.
Okay.
Like loopholes and stuff. So.
All right. So before we get to the hoax, I'm going to treat it like it's real. And so on the assumption that it's real, we're going to assume that someone... What?
Sorry, James B. Ward, the guy that published it.
Yeah?
That's the guy that became a Grand Mason.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I forgot to put that in my notes, but I remembered reading it, so.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a separate idea for what's going on with Ward, but for what's going on with Beale, and assuming that he's real, and that everything that he did and said and lived was real, and that the gold was real, and the treasure was real, and the other 30 men was real. Not all 30 of those men are gonna be good people. There's gotta be a bad egg in there somewhere, an apple spoiling the bunch. And this son of a bitch, he is looking at this and everyone's hard work, and he's thinking, man, I could get away with this all myself if I just have the right opportunity. And he just happened to be the wrong person for Beale to confide in. And so Beale goes and tells him where he's hid the treasure, just so it's like, all right, you're my good friend, and I know and I trust you. And so this is where the treasure's gonna be in case something happens to me. But I've left a cipher with this guy, and it's gonna be fine. And this is the guy that he was going to send with the message to Mason. And the guy's like, yeah, you know what? You can trust me. I'm great. I'm Gucci Gang. We're all pals here, right? No, stab. Beale's dead. Beale is deader than a doornail. And so the guy with the message knows the location and everything because he has the cipher. I don't, or maybe just Beale straight up told him, but whatever. But he goes to the location of the treasure. And he digs it out, because it's 6 feet underground. You know what else is 6 feet underground? Graves. And so he pulled the treasure out and put Beale in there. And so anyone who figures out the location of the treasure is just going to find Beale's dead body and nothing else. Because the messenger got away with it. There were no kids or dogs getting in his way this time.
I actually followed that one.
Good.
The kids or dogs thing. Like, I actually understand the reference this time.
Thank you.
I was about to ask you about it, and I was like, she's probably talking about Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
So, couple things.
Okay.
One, I just meant like general thoughts, not a well thought out, like a fully fleshed theory.
Sorry, those were my thoughts.
Second, that was harder to follow than the plot of National Treasure.
It would probably make about as good a movie, too.
So now let's get into why people think this is a hoax.
Okay.
There's been a lot of speculation as to whether the last 2 ciphers are actually real.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe that they are hoaxes. And one early researcher, Carl Hammer of Sperry Univac, used supercomputers in the late he used supercomputers in the late 1960s to analyze the ciphers and found out that while the ciphers are very poorly encoded, neither of them showed any patterns that you might expect in something that was like randomly generated or where the numbers were just chosen like all higgledy-piggledy. So there's a chance that they're real.
Okay.
But there is no evidence other than the word of James Ward that he ever even had the real cipher texts.
Yeah.
So that's, we got 1 point for, 1 point against so far.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the only point for, by the way.
Okay.
It just devolves from there.
Okay.
Also, the pamphlet's background story has a lot of holes in it, and it's based almost entirely on circumstantial evidence and like hearsay.
Huh.
Because, this was given to me in an iron box, and I gave it to this guy, and he did a thing, and then he gave it to this guy to do this thing with it, and then he...
And no one opened the box until it was too late.
Also, cryptographers have claimed the other 2 ciphers contain sequences of letters that aren't random and are not actual English words.
Huh. That's weird.
Because I think they've kind of decoded some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
And and if this is the case, that's why, because it doesn't make any sense. Also, there are people who have questioned why Beale would even bother writing 3 separate ciphers for what basically boils down to a one message.
Yeah, basically, more or less. You could just write it all in one thing.
Which the argument can be made, I suppose, that the reason he did 3 ciphers was in case the ciphers fell into the wrong hands, they would have to have all 3. But that's not even true. They just need the one that has the exact location, so never mind.
Yeah, basically.
Scratch that!
Yeah, because the rest of it is just like, okay, here's a ledger of everything in it, and here's the 2 addresses.
Right, like, they already know it. All they need is the knowledge that there's a buried treasure and where it's at.
Yeah, literally. So, can I tell you what I think, given the possibility that it's a hoax?
Save that until I finish, because there's still a little bit more left to go.
Okay.
Unless it's like really pertinent right now.
No. I'll sit.
Okay. Also, the letters that were sent with the ciphers appear to contain words that weren't actually in use at this time, like that weren't widely known, which plays into an actual theory here in a minute.
Oh, I'll be interested to hear that.
Like such as improvise, which apparently wasn't recorded in English before the 1820s, except for this one instance.
Ooh, that's weird.
Right. And there's more, but that's just an example. The 3rd cipher seems to be too short to contain the names of 30 people and their next of kin. Mm-hmm. So...
Because that's a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah, because, supposedly it contained the 30 men on the expedition, their wives, their sons and daughters, so... Mm-hmm. No one has deciphered the remaining 2, which is a little bit odd. And also, the pamphlet was sold for 50 cents, which at the time would have been about $15.
Wow.
It was a small pamphlet being sold for $15, essentially. And the publisher, James Ward, expected it to have a wide circulation, which suggests that this may have been a ploy on his part to make money as a publisher.
Fair, yeah.
It's weird that they used the Declaration of Independence, because it's just weird that they used that to decipher something in the first place.
Like, you don't naturally have, like, a pocketbook of the independence, like that thing.
Right.
When you're a frontiersman out in the mountains. Like, not back in the yonder years.
It's been suggested that the reason that he used the Declaration of Independence was to make at least one of them easily decipherable as kind of a proof of concept. But that would be redundant because... proof of concept is that it was deciphered and had a message. And, so it wasn't a hoax.
Yeah.
So, that was a little weird. And then finally, Robert Morris, as represented in the pamphlet, says that he was running the Washington Hotel in 1820, but records show that he didn't take that position until 1823. So, it's kind of poking holes in the story.
Yeah. You can tell when the lies start to filter in.
Yeah. Now, this is where the words thing comes in. There is a theory that this entire thing was one massive hoax by Edgar Allan Poe.
By Edgar Allan Poe?
Yes. There's not evidence, but there's stuff to go with that.
Okay. All right. What did our Raven Man do?
That's where the words thing comes in.
Yeah.
Because, he was a wordsmith.
And prodigy of his era, emo as he is.
Since it wasn't published until after the 1820s, people think that the reason those words are in there was because, it's a very well-published author who was the one who wrote them.
Yeah.
The theory states that he had an interest in cryptography, which he did.
Because of course he did.
Right. He wanted to try his hand at it. And this is backed up by the fact that he used to put notices in the Philadelphia paper known as Alexander's Weekly Messenger, in which he asked people to submit cryptograms, which he would then solve.
Just put a public ad in the paper for people to give him puzzles.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Pretty much.
He's like, I'm bored. Everyone just give me shit.
In his 1843 story, The Gold Bug, which is one that I have not read, actually.
I haven't heard that either.
He used a cryptogram as a plot device, which just kind of further cements this theory. However, the theory was slightly debunked by the fact that Poe died in 1849, And that was well before the pamphlets were published in 1885.
That's a shame.
Now, there is nothing to say that he didn't still write them. And then it just got published later. But it would be weird if he, in Philadelphia or wherever he was from, wrote these and then somehow they wound up in Virginia.
Yeah.
And got published in Virginia in 1885.
Yeah.
So
that takes one of my theories that I was building and tanks it. That's sad.
that's why I wanted you to wait.
Okay.
Not because I knew what your theory was or anything, but there's been so many times that I've started forming a theory when you're doing it, and you'll say one word, and I'm just like, okay, never mind.
It's like, oh, man, it was so close to being legitimate, and now it's like, oh, that was going to be real fun. But no, he's dead.
And then also his prose was entirely different than that was used in the pamphlets, which, I mean, he could have used a different type or, a different style of prose to write them, but these are just, things that are like, no, this is why he couldn't have done it. Now, obviously, despite all the logical fallacies and the holes in this story, there have been a shitload of people who flocked to Virginia, specifically to Bedford County, to try and find this.
Okay.
Too many to count. The only one that I thought was kind of worth mentioning was there was one expedition. There was one expedition to Porter's Mountain.
Okay.
I think in the 1980s, and this was a big one. It was with the property owner's permission on the agreement that they would split any treasure found 50-50, but all they found was a bunch of Civil War relics.
And that's not exactly worth all that much.
Right, especially, that. Well, it would have been 1980. I don't know. Anyway, they broke even because they found all these relics. So.
Yeah, so it's like not what they wanted, but it was something.
Right, at least they're not out of a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's where we stand now.
Okay.
So tell me, first off, first off, you've given your theory if
assuming it was real.
It's real. So you have a theory about who it might have been if it was a hoax, correct?
Yeah, if it was a hoax, I do have a contingency theory for this.
Okay. Lay it on me.
So, what was the name of the guy who was the publisher? Mason?
No, James B. Ward.
James B. Ward, who was the Mason. And he was like one of the high-tier Masons, like a Grand Mason.
He was a Grand Mason. Yeah.
And, being a very famous author in these times over in the East Side, Poe would likely have been a Mason as well, probably kept it on the hush-hush, but I wouldn't be surprised if Poe was a Mason too. And so...
Fair.
And Poe was really into ciphers and everything, and he was probably, working on a whole bunch of stuff, and, with Ward being a publisher, authors and publishers, they have to have working relationships if you're going to get your stuff circulated around the country. So they probably knew each other and were probably, had a working relationship. Or maybe they were even friends. But Poe sadly died. But the way he died, because if you don't know the way he died, that was a mystery in and of itself, because apparently he got drunk and wound up on the wrong side of town and went missing for a while. We could do an episode all on that just on its own. But
what is it with that era of writers and going missing? I know, wasn't it Agatha Christie who faked her own kidnapping or some shit? Yeah,
we could just do a month where we focus just on writers who went missing in this time period. It was something, but yeah. So Poe died suddenly. He wasn't, maybe he was expecting to die. A lot of people have theorized that he was suicidal, but, he would have left a lot of unfinished work behind. And so Ward, as one of the people going through his things and, trying to figure out where everything goes, comes across an unfinished story. He comes across the story of Lord Beale and this group of people of Virginians who went out into the mountains to hunt and found these treasure troves, unimaginable amounts of gold and silver, and this cipher that Lord Beale made, and with the thought of if if something ever happened to him, at least everyone would be able to get their share of the treasure. And so he really liked the story and wanted to know the continuation of it, but he can't do that without knowing what the cipher says. And so that might be why he put it out around in the papers, so that he could figure out for himself how would Poe have made the story end.
Okay.
So either that, or it was a recruitment tool for the Grand Masons, or for the Masons in general, Freemasons. Like, if you solve the other 2 ciphers, congratulations, go to this secret location, and then we give you a ring. You've made it in. You've passed the test.
It's kind of funny that you say that.
Yeah?
Because I haven't even really started researching it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a mystery called Cicada 3301.
Oh, really?
And it's basically that. It was a series of puzzles that showed up on the internet.
Uh-huh.
And the bottom line was, anyone who can solve all these will gain entry into this very exclusive organization.
All right.
No one knows who put them out there, where they came from, any of that. I just think it's funny that you hit on that when that's something that I've got in the works. I just need to do the research on it.
Yeah, because I know that you've talked about doing that episode a while ago.
Yeah, I was looking into it, and we didn't have a whole lot of time left before we had to record, and it's just, that one's going to take a lot of research because I'm going to have to hit up so many different sources to get the full story.
Oh, I feel that, yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that's not readily accessible.
Fair and valid, fair enough. So yeah, like that'll be for like a special episode at some point.
Just a future episode. Okay. I mean, that's actually pretty well thought out, pretty logical.
Thank you. I was just like, oh yeah, Edward Allan Poe is in this? Edgar? Yeah. Raven Man? Love my Raven Man.
Edward Allan Poe?
The famous Raven Man? No.
It was Edgar Allan Poe's lesser-known brother who wrote children's storybooks, but they were really bad.
Aw, that's why.
They were good stories, they just weren't for children. But that's how I marketed them. Honestly, I was trying to come up with something really quick because I didn't really formulate a theory on this one.
Oh, yeah?
I think I'm just going to have to agree with you because, I don't know.
I stole the theory brain cell today. I am hoarding it. It is mine. No touch.
I know this isn't what you said, but it sounded like you said you were horny.
Oh,
I was like,
no.
that's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. No,
I stole the theory brain cell. I'm horny.
No.
Wait, what?
No.
No.
We're hoarding a brain cell. We're just a singular dragon, tiny dragon, fairy dragon that hoards brain cells.
You know what? F it. We're going with Cass's theory today.
Sounds good.
I apologize, listeners. I think I'm coming down with something. I don't have a whole lot of energy today. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it at that. Cass has got 2 theories. I'm just going to go ahead and agree with her this week. So if it was real, one of the men stole it. If it was a hoax, whatever she said about the Masons, because I've already, I remember what you said, but I don't remember what you said. So.
Basically, Ward was a fan of Edgar Allan Poe and decided to circulate the unfinished story that he left before he died as if it was real and try to get people to solve the cipher in honor of his friend and work partner.
Gotcha. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Cass solved it.
Yeah!
Normally I would say we have solved it, but Cass was the one who solved it this time.
We won, guys! We beat the odds and came up with theories and figured out how things work, even though things make no sense most of the time. I have your brain cell. I don't have any other brain cells.
See, I like that you're acting like this is surprising that you managed to come up with a theory when that's literally what we do every week.
I know, but I'm also tired. I was also very surprised that I came up with something cogent.
I think we're going to keep the outro as short as possible this week, so just make sure that you get those questions for the live stream into us by June 12th at mysteriessolvedpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com, or on Twitter at UMS_podcast, or Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved. And Cass, how is the research for that coming? Without giving away the topic.
It is coming. There are lists of things that I need to check out, so organization is happening.
Okay, you heard it here first. And probably only. But unless Cass has anything else this week?
Nothing else this week. I've got a book that's going through the rounds of finalization before publication, so you can expect to hear about that soon? Question mark?
Okay, well, we are looking forward to it.
Yay! Thank you.
And then we will see you right back here next week with a brand new mystery to solve. And in the meantime, between time, Cass?
Do not question us or you will be put down ruthlessly. Wait, I was trying not to say mercilessly. Wait, no, it is mercilessly, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I was trying not to say mirthlessly, and I wound up with a synonym. Anyways, it is time for saying goodbye, yes?
Sure, so say goodbye, Cass.
Bye-bye!
Alright, bye-bye now. Thanks for listening. And go rate and review the podcast, you jerks. I'm sorry I called you jerks. F***ing mole people!
So just to add on to all of this, let's throw in some gargoyles to continue on with the theme. In the past, gargoyles were supposed to ward off evil spirits. What evil spirits are at an airport?
Blucifer.
Yeah, that's probably why they had to have the gargoyles to save them from Lucifer coming after them. Because, that looks like an evil spirit. Totally. Hi guys, I'm Holly from Curly Conspiracies. I hope you liked the clip from our Denver airport episode. If you want to find out more about this conspiracy, go to curlyconspiracies.com, or you can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.